Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm Marzieh Hashimi. Thanks so much for being with us. Well, former Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf has gone from 4 years of self-imposed exile in the UK to being arrested in his native country. Now, this after he returned to Pakistan in order to run in parliamentary elections. The government is saying that he should stand trial for charges such as imprisoning judges and conspiracy in the murder of opposition leader Benazir Bhutto during his rule. What has been Musharraf's legacy and what is next for him, and why did he choose to return to Pakistan now? Stay with us on this debate as we attempt to look at the answers of these questions. Stay tuned.
Former President Pervez Musharraf walking through a sea of security forces and troops into Pakistan's anti-terrorism court, where he has been ordered to be remanded in custody for 14 days.
Instead of physical remand, Musharraf has been sent on judicial remand. He has been sent to jail for 14 days. Now he will request bail. When an accused is sent to jail, he has a right to apply for bail. So now his bail will be requested in this court.
Musharraf's next hearing is on May 4. The case is related to his decision to sack and detain several judges, including Chief Justice Iftikhar Muhammad Chowdhury, as part of a crackdown on the judiciary in 2007. During the crackdown, he imposed emergency rule and suspended Pakistan's constitution. Police have declared Musharraf's country residence could serve as a jail, paving the way for him to be taken and held there under what is essentially house arrest. A judge has said Musharraf's 2007 crackdown amounted to terrorism, which is why the case is now being heard before an anti-terrorism court.
The High Court has ordered the police to add terrorist charges, so they added the terrorist charges and brought him to court.
Musharraf is facing a series of other accusations, including corruption and failure to provide security for former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto, who was assassinated in 2007 upon her arrival in Pakistan. He's been even accused of involvement in Bhutto's murder, as well as the assassination of a Baloch dissident leader. Musharraf may be charged with high treason, which is punishable by death. One of the controversial issues surrounding Musharraf is his consent to the U.S. assassination drone attacks on Pakistan's soil. The former general has admitted that he gave the go-ahead to the U.S. to fly its UAVs over Pakistan and hit intended targets. Many in Pakistan consider these drone strikes a violation of their country's sovereignty, and Musharraf's approval of such attacks has tarnished his image among his own people. Musharraf returned to Pakistan to contest the upcoming presidential election, but has been disqualified for running for the vote. As for his legacy, his opponents say he sold out Pakistan to the U.S. and got many innocent people killed by American drones. This is while Musharraf's supporters consider him as an icon and say he made great services to the nation in terms of security and economic development as well as democracy. Whatever his legacy, there are serious doubts as to whether the former general will be able to return to political life again, at least not in the near future.
Well, I'd like to welcome my guest to the program, President of Society for International Reforms and Research, Said Ali Wasif, out of Washington, and investigative journalist Naveed Ahmed out of Islamabad. Thank you both for being with us. Well, let me start this off in Washington with Said Wasif. What do you think was Musharraf's legacy as president?
Well, before I go ahead with this question, with the answer of this question, first you have to understand the dynamics of Pakistan's politics. Pakistan's politics has been in and around the influence of the Pakistan's military, period. That has been Pakistan's politics since its inception, unfortunately. Now, the case with Musharraf is, The American influence, as far as the American influence is concerned in Pakistan, that has been a case since its inception, again. As far as corruption is concerned, it has been since its inception, again. As far as nepotism and other political maneuvering is concerned, it has been, or they have been, since the day of inception. So these are nothing new. The only thing Musharraf made a difference there during his 9 years of reign was there was relatively a pretty calm and peaceful environment in Pakistan, except for the bashing of the criminals and terrorists in the northern areas of Pakistan in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. And that was against pro-Taliban and pro-Al-Qaeda leaders. So that was totally okay under the domestic norms, under Islamic law, under international legal norms. He basically stabilized Pakistan's political environment, made a breakthrough in the economic kind of development, kind of economic and financial stuff there in Pakistan.
Okay, well, let me just, because I want to get our other guests in on this. Stay with me, Mr. Wasif. Mr. Ahmed, why do you think that Mr. Musharraf chose to return from the UK at this time, after 4 years of being in a self-imposed exile? Why now?
Well, there was somewhere a doubt in his mind that he has left very good memories with the Pakistani people, and Pakistanis are sick and tired of what People's Party's government has been doing over the past 5 years, which he actually handed over under a secret deal and which let him govern the country for about a year after it took over. So the feeling within pro-Musharraf camp was that there is not going to be any possibility of elections owing to his legacy of war against terror that has actually ripped Pakistani economy and society apart. And secondly, his aides in Pakistan, and some of them who are sitting in foreign capitals, were telling him that you are still the hero and you are going to make a lot of difference. People still miss you. And this was all through Facebook. I think Musharraf was not following Twitter, where people tend to speak truth more than that. Now when he comes to Pakistan, he realizes that military is not at his back, that he thought it would be. Then he also realized that media is not with him, which he thought he can buy off. And thirdly, he also did not realize that United States, his mentor, would also be supporting him. And United States, on the second or third day of this trial, gives a clear press release that we would stay neutral in this situation, and we want to see a peaceful and democratic Pakistan, whatever that may mean for the US, but at least General Pervez Musharraf could really get the message. And on top of it all, the mood in Pakistan is only for democracy now. Pakistan was created after 3rd of June plebiscite amongst the Muslims, and it was not a dictatorship. Pakistanis always loved democracy, and General Pervez Musharraf was an illegitimate tyrant, and he was not the president, not so much accepted by the people. And that's what we saw. When he went beyond a certain line of patience, people kicked him out. So I don't think Musharraf is going to survive this whole series of cases that he has. He may get a bail in this anti-terrorist court thing, but there are 3-4 cases that he would not be able to get bail renewed. He has got 2 bails renewed in 2 different cases, but not anymore.
Okay, what about that said, Wasif? Do you think that Mr. Musharraf miscalculated the amount of support that he would have upon arrival in Pakistan or not?
Partly yes, he miscalculated. But whatever the gentleman in Islamabad said was not totally correct, because he pinpointed and he accused Musharraf of high treason. But what about other generals who were in his team? The judges who took oath of allegiance and, under his presidency, and the other bureaucrats and all other people, and the media who supported him initially during his 8 years of rule. So why now You know, and why only Musharraf? Why not all other generals? Why not all other bureaucrats? Why not all the judges of the Supreme Court, including the Chief Justice, and including the Chief Justice of the 4 high courts, and including the current General Chief of Army Staff, Kiani, including all other generals in the Corps right now, in the 9 Corps commanders.
All right, what about that, Mr. Ahmed, what that Mr. Wasif has just said? What about what he's just said? Do you think that Mr. Musharraf is being used as a scapegoat, or how do you see this in the whole scheme of things?
This is pretty funny when people really forget about how he came into power and what was the way to enter the power circles and corridors. Whatever he did till 2005 or 2006, until the 18th Amendment came, there would be and there can be questions about Chief Justice. There can be question about the previous judiciary which sanctioned him for that matter, which was not very legal, which was not very sort of democratic and constitutional to have him rule the country for a certain period of time. But Musharraf's 3rd of November emergency has not been vindicated by the Supreme Court or by the Parliament of Pakistan. The judges, their return to their chambers after this whole mess that he created was authenticated, verified, established by the Parliament of Pakistan unanimously, without people opposing it. And this is what some of those people who really look at Musharraf as Messiah forget to know, that how this whole process went ahead. His sacking of judges has not been cleared by the Parliament. Those judges are not retired chief justices or whatever he made of for his own self. Media's job is to report, and media was one single most important arm of the state which actually threw Musharraf out. Judges movement had an equal role of media to really put Musharraf in that corner where he was. You cannot really compare a retired general or a general who comes into power and he becomes so-called president with someone who's democratically elected. We believe still that Nawaz Sharif did not have the guts to stay in jail and be someone like Nelson Mandela, and such poor important leaders of Pakistan left the country onto the mercy of these generals. And now in this country, as of today, as of this date, we have so many people who are really out and who really do not want any retired or serving general to intervene. One last point that this gentleman raised was about the other people. Musharraf was leading the show. And when Musharraf was leading the show and all those acts which are not really seconded by or accepted by the Parliament, whosoever was involved would come into play. Just wait a while. He is being respectfully treated. He is living in a mess. His children and his family is not starving in the so-called Chak Shehzad, villa or whatever. He is being kept in a very respectable manner. He is not handcuffed. He is not held from his hair in public.
Well, let me just jump in here, Mr. Ahmed. Let me jump in here with something that you've just said. You said that he is being treated with respect and everything. I want to look at how likely is it that Mr. Musharraf has been promised that basically he will not have to serve long term, and perhaps that he will be able to re-enter the political scene in Pakistan.
I didn't get your question. Are you saying that he would not serve jail for long term and he will enter the politics?
I'm asking you the possibility of that. Do you think that he perhaps was promised that possibility, being after 4 years that suddenly he decided? Of course, you said he was monitoring some of the social network sites, but obviously a person to take everything, take that type of a risk. Do you think that perhaps he has been promised something that he believes that he will not have to serve, and that actually he can re-enter?
I think it's sheer overconfidence that this man has lived. He went into Kargil without calculating what India's response could be and how India will react in '99 in Kargil debacle, and he had this debacle thrown on the face of entire nation. Now in this case as well, this crazy commando decided to come back to Pakistan against the advice of the Americans, against the advice of the Saudis, against the advice of UAE friends that he had, and some wise Pakistani economists which have soft corner for him.
Let me get Mr. Wasif back in on this, and let me get Mr. Wasif's perspective on that. Mr. Wasif, do you think that he has, why do you think he has risked it all? Do you think that basically he did not take the advice of many who told him not to return, or do you think that perhaps he really believes that he can re-enter political life inside of Pakistan?
Of course, I think he doesn't have that kind of expert advisors on domestic politics in Pakistan, and of course international advisors as well. As far as the gentleman in Islamabad is concerned, I think he's a pro-Saudi gentleman who is in favor of Nawaz Sharif or whoever, the corrupt politicians there. You know, I'm not supporting any military dictatorship. I haven't supported any military dictatorship. But when we compare two devils and two evils, we support for the lesser of the two evils. Musharraf was a lesser of the two evils. We have been seeing pro-Saudi terrorism in Pakistan during the times of Nawaz Sharif, who is also backed, supported, and financed by the Saudi regime in Pakistan. The Al-Qaeda and Taliban guys are supported by the Saudi regime in Pakistan. The military in Pakistan is being supported by the Saudi regime in Pakistan. The drone attacks by the Americans are being condoned and supported by
let me just jump in here with something you've just said Wasif. Let me just jump in here with the drone.
Let me complete. When he speaks, you just keep quiet. When I speak, you
no,
start disturbing me.
No, that is not the case.
Let me
you complete that, and I will go back on what you just said with the drone. Go ahead.
Let me complete.
Go ahead.
No, I'll leave the stage. Let me complete.
I said go ahead.
Let me complete.
Please do. Go ahead.
You are discriminating.
Mr. Wasif, I'm saying please continue. Make your point, sir.
Don't disturb me unless I am done.
Sir, do not yell at me and make your point. Go ahead, please.
This is a game of Saudi involvement in Pakistan's politics. Saudi involvement. The Pakistan's ISI is a Saudi-backed intelligence agency. The drone attacks are being done at the behest of the Saudis and the behest of, with the permission of the Pakistan's hierarchy, the military and the political hierarchy. So how could you just blame one person, Musharraf? I mean, is he a scapegoat? Yes, he is. Why? There are reasons for that. Musharraf belongs to Karachi, and he's being unfairly treated and discriminated upon because of his background. He is not a Punjabi-speaking general. This is the case. This is the original case. With these gentlemen hide from the public and from the international media. His sin is he is the son of Karachi and not from the Punjab. And he's not from the majority of the province, which is the Punjab province. So what happens? Whenever a Punjabi general commits high treason, he is condoned, he is backed and supported, and he is never touched by any Supreme Court, by any tribunal, by any court.
All right, let me ask you a question now, Mr. Wasif. Mr. Wasif, let me go back on...
In this case, Musharraf, then it happens.
All right, Mr. Wasif, back on a point that you made. You talked about as far as dealing with the Americans and the drone strikes. Now, Mr. Musharraf has admitted that he actually was the one that gave the okay as far as the U.S. drone strikes. Your take on that?
Yes, he did. And of course, he did a wrong decision. He made a wrong decision. But that in Pakistan, all the corps commanders and the top military leadership is responsible, equally responsible for any decision made by a general. So he was not alone. So if you want to indict him, indict all other corps commanders and the top brass of the military during his reign. One, indict all the chief justices of the court and the Supreme Court and all the judges. Indict all those who were at the helm of affairs during Musharraf regime. Why just one person? Because he speaks Urdu, and this is the case here.
Okay, Mr. Ahmed, your perspective on that. Is there discrimination, according to what Mr. Wasif has said, basically based on his background?
First of all, when you run out of logic, you go into a shouting match which somebody is doing somewhere, sitting in the United States and condemning it. My point on this is that General Pervez Musharraf has a much bigger constituency to back him instead of these terrorists in Karachi who are branded as MQM. He would be looking, and his spokesman said, General Rashid Qureshi, that a military should come in, a former army chief is being humiliated. That is where he draws all the power, and that is where this whole overconfidence came in. And he's still banking till the last moment that there could be a possibility that military come to my rescue. I don't think there is any ethnic element involved. I myself speak Urdu. I was born in Karachi, and people of Karachi do not see things. It's a city which is very cosmopolitan, and I think somebody sitting in Washington hasn't actually visited Pakistan and seen the reality of today's Pakistan. There is no fight within two bigger and lesser evils, and somebody supporting Musharraf and Nawaz Sharif and Benazir Bhutto's party. There are other people who are active in politics. Even Pakistan is heading towards three-party contest. We do not have any alliance with. There is no alliance by PMLN with any party. Tehreek-e-Insaf is fighting, contesting elections alone. People's Party has some alliances somewhere, but predominantly Pakistan is heading towards. It's the Arab Spring kind of thing happening again after 2007.
All right, stay with me, Mr. Ahmed. Stay with me. Running out of time. Stay with me, please. I want to look at some of the Facebook comments. We have a comment by Mr. Mohammed Irfan, who put this on our wall. Check this out.
He sold innocent lives and Dr. Afia Siddiqui to the U.S. He killed many innocents in Lal Masjid operation. He allowed the U.S. to do airstrikes on a children's institution, which killed more than 80 children. He allowed the U.S. to do airstrikes in Pakistan and kill innocent women and children in the name of terrorists. He killed Bukti of Balochistan, and last but not least, he gave the government to corrupt thieves in 2008 and ran away from Pakistan.
Their comment, let's check out this next comment, please.
General Musharraf is an honest person and is loyal to Pakistan. The steps he took during his tenure helped the Pakistani economy to boom. He is accused of fake allegations so that he may stay away from general elections which are supposed to be held next month in Pakistan. The last 5 years' tenure of Zardari and Nawaz Sharif has led Pakistan towards extremely bad economical crisis and a huge level of inflation. Musharraf's dictatorship was far better than the current democracy, which has caused great damage to the country.
All right, well, I'd like to get your take. Mr. Wasif, he says the first comment basically says that he sold innocent lives, Pakistani lives, to the U.S. I'd like your take on that first comment, sir.
First of all, I've just visited Pakistan 2 months ago. At times I visit Pakistan 4 times a year. This is for the knowledge of the gentleman sitting in Islamabad. The second is...
And that should not be enough to make you an expert on Pakistan.
I'm a doctorate in international politics and international law, and I'm a professor at a university in Washington, D.C., gentlemen. So,
we know many doctors in the United States who really know where Pakistan is.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Wasif. Go ahead.
I have been a journalist during the 1980s in Pakistan, and I was an English newspaper, English Daily in Pakistan during the 80s when you were just a kid.
Okay, please, go ahead and answer the question. Almost out of time.
Yeah, I'm answering the question. You see, is Musharraf the only person who has allowed the Americans the drone attacks? Aren't the drone attacks going on right now? Why don't you held responsible this General Kiani for that? Why don't you hold General Kiani responsible for that? Why don't you hold the democratically elected People's Party's corrupt government for that?
Okay.
Why don't you hold the judges responsible for that?
Well, let me give Mr. Ahmed, we're almost out of chance. Let me give Mr. Ahmed opportunity to answer your question, Mr. Wasif.
Right now.
Mr. Wasif, hold up, please. Mr. Ahmed, your take on Mr. Wasif's point.
Well, I have a take on this man called Pervez Musharraf. Anybody having power and authority to make decisions will be held responsible for any violation of international or national laws. In that case, General Musharraf was usurping the power in Pakistan. In the case of these drone attacks that continued during People's Party's government, People's Party's leadership, whosoever was the Prime Minister, should be held accountable for that. There we, sort of sort it out. At some point in time, Parliament started talking about it, we debated, and it was unanimously said that these are illegal and we condemn it. And Pakistan now has taken a clear stance that these are intolerable.
All right, I'm so sorry, Mr. Ahmed, but we are out of time. I appreciate both of you being with us out of Washington. Sayed Ali Wasif from the Society for International Reforms. I'm so sorry, we're out of time. And Mr. Naveed Ahmed out of Islamabad, investigative journalist. Would love to be able to continue this discussion perhaps another time. Thank you so much. Marzieh Hashemi signing out for the debate. Thanks so much and goodbye.